Hi guys, I might be a bit of an outlier when it comes to what I think will happen when the election rolls round. The general thinking is that because Reform UK are doing so well in the polls, and in some cases beating the Tories, that this will result in a massive turnout for them at the general election. My feeling is that when push comes to shove, this will fail to materialise unless Nigel Farage jumps on board. So-called small c Conservative voters may tell pollsters that they will back the Richard Tice outfit, but I don't see this happening on polling day. We've already seen a pretty poor turnout for them at the by-elections when protest votes are strongest. Here is Reform's Ben Habib trying to sell the opposite.
Salvation typically is more cautious in predicting Reform UK's polling numbers. It's always at the lower end. YouGov, Savanta and others have us typically higher up. So Salvation having us at 8.5% isn't representative of where the polls typically would be. And the last thing I'd like to say is this, by the way, is not Conservative voters moving to the Labour Party. There's no enthusiasm for Labour. If you look at how it's actually polled in the various by-elections, their vote's been steady. What's happening here is small c Conservatives, absolutely and rightly, fed up with the Conservative Party, either switching to Reform UK or staying at home. And the challenge Reform UK has is to get those small c Conservatives to vote on the day for us.
Easier said than...
Now, you need to offer them something, but you can't offer them anything because you're not going to be in government. So what's interesting about all of this is that Ben Habib ran in the constituency of Wellingborough, Peter Bone's old constituency, and he had predicted himself to be an MP on the Monday after the Friday or the Saturday, whenever the by-election took place. And of course he came third. He didn't come first. This was a Tory it was basically a two-horse race and he came third. He was predicting himself to win it. Now, remember, this is a pretty high-profile figure. He's known pretty much in politics, and he was promoted continuously by GB News. So how come he didn't win? So is this a case of Reform UK running out of steam? Imagine for a moment, they have invested so much in getting Ben Habib into Parliament through Wellingborough, and he failed. How are they expecting to win seats in the general election? They don't even have a ground team. They'd need to have thousands, hundreds of thousands perhaps, of volunteers knocking on doors, convincing people to vote for Reform UK. They don't have that. So they should have won the by-election. They should have won a few by-elections, considering the amount of rhetoric, the rhetoric that they've been presenting. We are winning over disillusioned Conservative voters. But they're not. People will say something to a pollster, and people will generally vote for the protest party in the by-election because they know it's not going to have an impact on the government. But in the general election, they vote for parties that are going to be in government. So I think, now I may be wrong, I'm not a pollster, I'm not an expert, and if you look at the polls, yes, it seems that Reform UK are doing really well. But when it comes to actual votes, they're doing pretty poorly. Ben Habib said he was going to win the Wellingborough by-election. He came third. So I think Reform UK are running out of steam. Unless Nigel Farage jumps on board, but he may look at what's happening to the party at the moment and decide, I'm not going to be embarrassed once again. I ran 7 times, I don't want to lose an 8th time. So I think while Reform UK may look good on paper, and people polled will say one thing, when push comes to shove, when it comes to the general election, the choice is, in many English constituencies in particular, Labour or more of the Conservatives. And most small c Conservatives that Ben Habib is talking about will likely stay at home. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.